All right, welcome, gentlemen. Hey, welcome to another Bloodhound workshop. So let's see, there are a couple of names I am not sure about. I don't recognize off the top of my head. So, in case there's anybody new here today, that's going to be my first question here is to see if there is anybody new to these workshops today. And if you are new, would you like to hear the workshop introduction? So the workshop introduction is where I'll explain what we do in these workshops, what we do not do. I'll explain how the recordings work. And then lastly, I'll explain the indicators here that I can install into this machine, for the sake of demonstrating, other third-party indicators, right, with Bloodhound here. All right, so if anybody would like to hear the workshop introduction, let me know, and I'll get that out of the way first. And then also with that, let's see, I don't have any questions that were emailed in to get today's workshop started. I thought there were from last week's workshop. Yeah, somebody said they're going to email their question in for today, but I didn't receive that email. So yeah, so if you have questions for Bloodhound, go ahead and type those questions into the Q&A window there. So as Nathan is saying, yes, chat is disabled. The chat is disabled in this workshop here. That way I can maintain what questions I have already answered and which ones I still need to answer to. Which ones I still need to answer. So, yeah. Let's see here. Ron says he emailed in a question for slope. Ron, make sure you email those in, much earlier there. So, I don't have that. That email has not been received yet. But I will keep an eye on it and, see when it comes in. So, but let's see here. Okay, so Nathan is asking for the introduction there. Okay, and let's see here. So I will hold on to Ron's comment there, and all right. Well, I guess So Ron, while I'm going over the workshop introduction here for Nathan, I guess it'd be faster if you could just copy and paste your question from the email and just drop it into the Q&A window there for me. And I'll get to that as soon as I finish up with the workshop introduction. So, all right. There. All right, so workshop introduction. So these workshops here are for software training for Bloodhound. And tomorrow, every Friday, is the software training for Blackbird. All right, so these workshops are not trade rooms, hence the word workshop. Otherwise, we'd call these trade rooms. So, so we at Shark Indicators, we are not trading coaches. So we don't provide any kind of trading advice, such as like what's the best way to identify when the market's trending, or to identify when the market's consolidating, or what's the best stop loss to use, right? We don't answer those or address those type of trading questions, right? We leave those up to the trading coaches there. So we are a software company. So these workshops here are to for a open environment where you can just come in, or you can email in your questions, right, and get an answer live in these workshops. So, all right. There's number one. Number two is the recordings. So all questions and topics that have any kind of learning material type of substance are cut out into their own individual recording there on YouTube. So if you've ever been to our YouTube channel there, right, most of those videos, the vast majority, came from these workshops here. And one way you can get to those videos is on the training workshops page here. So to get to this web page, just go to support, and it's the second one down on the list. Right, so that'll take you to here. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, right, here's the recordings. And here's a link to our YouTube channel here. We also have a little search box here, so you can type in some kind of keyword there, like if you're looking for an opening range type of system there, or something to do with the super trend indicator, right? Or videos on, how do you read custom indicators? Right? You could do something like that, and hit the little search box, and that will just bring up our YouTube channel there. And then you can see right there's the search term there, and there's the videos. Right? So all of these videos here. Well, actually, no. Sometimes YouTube will throw a random video in there. So obviously, yeah, that's not from these workshops here. But you can see, right, they're labeled which ones are from the workshops here. Yeah, see, Rob Mitchell. Yeah, that's another sales webinar. So anyways, right. So that's where these recordings come from, right? Or questions asked in these workshops there. There's also a master list here, and if we open this up there, let's see. Oh great, actually, yeah, it looks like we are up to date. That's pretty good. So yeah, my next thing I was going to mention about these recordings is that it takes typically 2 to sometimes 4 weeks, sometimes even longer. It depends on how busy our video editor is, right? So when these topics are cut out of the entire recording of the workshop, right? Our video editor does take the time to cut them out and clean them up. So that is a very time-consuming process. So don't ever expect a question to show up on the list or on our YouTube immediately. There is at least a several-week delay typically. All right. So because there is that delay, in the video editing there, or because video editing is so time-consuming, we do have a alternate solution here. So if you do want to watch a workshop recording immediately, you can email into support and request that today's workshop be uploaded to our YouTube Raw channel. So you can see we have a Shark Indicators Raw, and this is just the unedited, the raw recording there, completely unedited. And let me reload this and see. Okay, yeah. So here's basically a list of the weeks that various customers have emailed in and asked us to upload the raw recording here. So once our video editor is done cutting out all the various topics and questions that might be in each week, then it is deleted off of this channel here. So this is just a temporary holding place, so that that if any of you do ask a question and you want to be able to watch that recording as soon as possible, this is where you can watch that from. So let's see. All right, so yeah, so that should do it for the recordings. The last thing to note is indicators. All right, so in my machine here, the indicators I have installed are only freely available indicators. All right, so I do not install trial indicators or anything like that. Right, so I keep everything freely available, so that way, you know, there's a couple reasons. The main one is that customers are always downloading the Bloodhound files that are created from these workshops, and it just makes it a lot more difficult when there's proprietary paid indicators, you know, included in these files here. So that's why, I will not. Well, first of all, Shark Indicators is not going to go buy somebody's proprietary indicator. But also I'm not going to use the trial period because it's only good for so long. And then the next people coming along, you know, they feel that they're going to have the right to have me demo something with it, but obviously the trial's expired, right? So it just creates a complicated situation there. So, all right, so only freely available indicators can I install in this machine here. And I'm going to go through a list of some of the more common places where you can find freely available indicators. Right? So first place here is on NinjaTrader's ecosystem website here. And this is their list of vendors. There's no title for this page here, but essentially this is their list of vendors. And you can see, right, it has various search capabilities, right, style and approach, features, things like that, right? So you can, and even the vendor's name. So if you know the vendor's name, you can search for that. So if you search for indicators and free to use, right, these are a list of all the freely available indicators that you can download directly off the various vendors' website there. All right, so these are all free to use there. And also, next one, NinjaTrader's ecosystem webpage again. And I think you all are probably familiar with the user app share here, right? So these are all freely available there. And next is nexusfi.com, right? So they have a download section here, which, I'm on the downloads. I'm on the downloads page right now, right? And so they have a NinjaTrader section, right? The one exception is we at Shark Indicators, we don't have access to the elite circle indicators, right? So only, the standard membership indicators can I download there, right? Now, NexusFi and this next one, LizardTrader, both of these are what we'd call quote free indicators, right? Because you do have to have a membership, and that is a one-time fee, right? So, but once you're a member, there's no more cost anymore. So so from that standpoint, they're considered free. All right, NexusFi. And then, as I already kind of showed, right, LizardTrader also, has a quote free section as well there. So let's go into the free section. If we're going to NinjaTrader 8, here we go. So they have what they call a members library, something like that. So again, it's a one-time fee to acquire a membership there. But after that, all of these indicators are free, and they do update their list every once in a while, and they update the indicators in here every once in a while. So, all right. So that should do it, for the workshop introduction. All right. There. All right, so with that, let me see if Ron had pasted his question into the Q&A window there. And okay, all right, so yeah, Ron's got a multi-part question here. All right, so Ron, you're going to need to kind of provide more clarity here. So let's see here. All right, so he wants to see or generate a buy signal. So I'm guessing it's only a buy signal when the slope of the MACD and the slope of the average is over 45 degrees. So that's kind of the first issue is charts, of a angle in degrees is subjective, but we can go over that. Let's see here. And then also, you mentioned stop loss and profit targets. All right, so that will have to be in tomorrow's Blackbird workshop there. Well, actually, no, we can use Raven. Yeah, so we can use Raven. So for the stop loss and profit target, and this is on a 1 minute and a 5 minute time frame. All right. So, okay. So, are you looking for the slope of the MACD and the average on both the 1 minute and the 5 minute? So we need a correlation of the MACD slope on both a 1 minute and a 5 minute time frame. I'm assuming it's for both. And let's see. Yeah, Mac. All right. So while Ron is getting back to me on that, I will get Bloodhound open here and we'll start building. There. All right. So first thing you want to do is you want to create a file name here that all your Bloodhound work gets saved to here. So let's click the save button there. And so I'm just going to put in today's date. All right. Halfway through May. We'll save that. There. All right. So this question, is about is using a 1 minute and a 5 minute time frame. Ron's okay. So, Ron, I don't know how this is working out. I need a better explanation. So, if the slope of the MACD, is on a 1 minute and a 5 minute, then what is this? Two separate systems then? Kind of clarify, because I don't know what's separate here between the 1 minute and the 5 minute. So you just want to do a 5 minute. Okay. All right. So we'll just keep this to a 5 minute chart then. All right. Then, all right. So then I will need to switch my chart to a 5 minute, like so. All right. There we go. And let's also put the indicator on the chart. All right. And I do need to turn on the average line here. like so. And I will turn off the difference line there. There. All right, so here's our MACD, like so. And there. Make that zero line a little more visible. There we go. All right, so we're going to check the slope here and generate a trade signal when the slope of both lines here, meet some kind of angle, meet some kind of slope there. So again, as far as 45 degrees go, right now, right, this doesn't look like 45 degrees. That does. That looks like 45 degrees, right? But what if I do this, right? It's no longer 45 degrees. So, and then as mentioned, right, that doesn't look like 45 degrees. Maybe that's 25, maybe 30 degrees, who knows? But if I do this, right, now it is 45 degrees, right? So you can't measure things in degrees. You can only measure things in how far it moved up or down in whatever units, right, your indicator draws in. Yeah. So we'll be able to understand that here in just a moment once I get a slope solver up here. So, all right, so let's open up Bloodhound again. And first thing we're going to do is grab a slope solver. Let's connect that in. All right, so we're going to look at the MACD line for this first solver here. So let's change our indicator to the MACD. There we go. Do a little search for it. There's our MACD. And as mentioned, right, we're going to analyze the MACD line first. So it's already selected for us. And again, I'm just going to use the standard default settings there. All right. Now we need to go into the slope rules here and figure out what type of slope we're looking for here. All right. So the angle of an indicator can be measured in either points or ticks. Now the MACD doesn't have ticks, right? There's no ticks on this Y scaling here, right? Ticks only apply to the price panel here. So if your indicator, like the MACD, runs in its own subpanel and has its own Y axis values, right? Its own scaling here, then only use points, right? If you try and use ticks with the MACD, you're going to get some kind of skewed result there. So for the MACD, we want to leave this on points. And next, let's just try 1 point. So there we go. So we can see with 1 point, we have this all identified. And we have some of that identified. So let's see if we do 1.5 points. Let's see what we get. Right, so there we go. It narrowed it down a little bit. So maybe we need 2 points. Let's see. Right, so you just kind of have to you go through some trial and error here, right? Because every indicator is different. So go through a trial and error and figure out, what slope are you actually looking for? Right? We can see there's a little slope, a sharp rise there, a couple of sharp rises there, right? So on and so forth. And let's try 3 there. Yeah, 3 is pretty steep there. So yeah, we eliminated, right, all the signals that occurred there. So who knows, right? So this is very subjective. So maybe that's too steep, so we could lower it down a little bit, like so. Yeah, like so. And yeah, what the heck? So I'm just gonna go with 2.5. Keep it like that. All right. So that's the MACD line. So now we need one for the average line. So let's make a copy of this and paste in a new copy. There we go. So this will be the MACD average line. And so now we need to go into the indicator here, right, into the MACD indicator, and select the average line there. All right. And we should connect this into the result node and take a look here, right? So we only have, right, one bar here where the average line is steep enough there. So let's go into the slope rules here and see, right, try and dial in what kind of angle, right, we're looking for here. So apply. So there are 2. We have some more results there. And see what happens if we go down to 1.5. There. And there we go. So we have a little more there. So, what the heck? Well, I'll just stick with that. And so if we look at both of these, right, looks like we're going to get some overlap. So next step is to grab an AND node and connect both of these together there. And there is our combined results. Yeah, so only over here is steep enough. But of course, right, if you wanted to see some signals over here, right, then it's just a matter of going into each of these solvers here and adjusting that slope rules value, right, to adjust the angle here in points for each of those MACD plot lines there. And let's see here. All right, I should name this logic template here. There. All right, so let's see if there's anything else needed here. And no, this is it. All right. So the next thing that Ron wants to see is an optimization done here. And I had mentioned Raven, but actually that was a mistake. So Raven doesn't have optimization capabilities for Bloodhound. So you can't optimize the MACD settings, and you can't optimize these slope values here with Raven. Yeah, so Ron, we'll have to pick this up in tomorrow's Blackbird workshop here and show, how to set up, how to select all of these settings here for optimization within Blackbird there. All right, so we'll pick this up again tomorrow. So this is it. That's all you need, right? Just the two slope solvers with those values in there. And then tomorrow we can go and pull out this value here, put this into the optimizer, that value, same thing with the other, the MACD slope, right? We can pull out the slope value here for the MACD line. We could also pull out the periods, right? The fast and the slow period and the average. Actually, yeah, you'd probably want to, since we're using the average line, right? We could pull out these three periods here and optimize for those as well. Yeah. All right. So we'll pick this up tomorrow. Yeah. And all right, so let me get ready here for the next question. Let's see. Oh, okay. There we go. There's a last minute question from Ron. Yeah, Ron's asking, can we only use the MACD line? Yeah, you bet. I mean, you can go into your Bloodhound system, and if all you wanted to see is just the MACD, then boom, just connect it up like that. So, and there you go. Now you're only using the MACD slope there. Yeah. Or yeah, if you only wanted to use the MACD average line, right, you can just connect it in, right? So you can do, any kind of temporary modification that you want there, right? So, yeah. But I'll leave it like that for now. So. All right, looks like Ronald is up next here. Let me read through his question, make sure I understand it here. Question is actually for NinjaTrader support. So Ron has a very common and obvious question here. So if, let's say you want to back test going back 6 months, 9 months, right? And so you're back testing across several futures expiration contracts, right? Ron's asking, will Blackbird automatically append those prior contract expirations or not? And so, no, Blackbird doesn't do anything. Blackbird does not manage the data on your chart. The platform, this answer applies to all charting platforms. It's the platform itself is what manages the data. So, so indicators do not manage the data. and strategies. So Blackbird is a strategy, and strategies do not manage the data, right? It's the platform. So it's NinjaTrader that manages that data, right? I'll just give you the short answer, which is yes, NinjaTrader does know to automatically append to change the contract month and grab the data from the appropriate contract month, expiration month, depending on what day, that you're back testing on. So yeah, NinjaTrader and all, as far as I know, all charting platforms manage that for you automatically, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't be a very good platform if it couldn't do that for you, right? Right. I don't think anybody would ever use a platform that couldn't automatically figure out how to get the correct contract month and show that data on the chart there for you. Yeah. So, but there are some options there that you should go take a look at NinjaTrader's documentation here that will modify how those different contract month expiration quarters are merged together. So if you go into NinjaTrader's options there's some settings in there that determine how the contract months are merged together, right? So you'll want to familiarize yourself with that. But that is all NinjaTrader, so you should be contacting NinjaTrader support and they can point you in the right direction there. So let's see here. Ron says, no, the question is if you were to test that strategy for, and that's exactly what I answered there, Ron. So again, the platform provides the data. So the strategy does not generate its own data. The data has to come from the strategy. I'm sorry. Getting my tongue tied here. The data is managed by NinjaTrader. So it's all determined by NinjaTrader. Yeah. So the short answer is yes. As I said before, NinjaTrader knows how to automatically grab the correct expiration contract. When you go back in time, NinjaTrader does grab data from the correct expiration contract there. Ron, this is as far as I'm going to go with this. Again, this is NinjaTrader related question. So if you can pull up 6 months of data on your chart, then then that's what you're back testing against. So just pull up 6 months of data on your chart, and that is what you're back testing against. So I guess let me kind of add something here to the workshop introduction there that I did for Nathan in the beginning. So we are Shark Indicators. So I don't go in depth with NinjaTrader related operations, right? And so how the data is managed is 100% a NinjaTrader thing. So you do need to contact NinjaTrader, and they can help you understand how the platform automatically grabs the data from the correct expiration month when you're going back in time, right? So it doesn't matter how far back you go, NinjaTrader does roll back the expiration month and grabs the data from the correct expiration contract when you're going back in time. So, And again, Blackbird does not manage any of that. So if you don't have the data, if NinjaTrader can't grab that data so that you can backtest using Blackbird or any strategy, that is a support issue that you need to take up with NinjaTrader, and they can help you solve that problem. So So it doesn't matter if you're, so for example, let's say you wanted to backtest this sample moving average crossover from NinjaTrader, right? Obviously, you wouldn't come to Shark Indicators and ask those questions, right? You'd have to go to NinjaTrader and ask them if they're rolling over the contract months, right? So, this sample moving average crossover, it doesn't manage the data either, even though NinjaTrader built it. So there. All right. So, yeah, sorry, Ron, but that's really kind of as far as I'm, willing to go, because I don't want these workshops to turn into NinjaTrader training. These workshops here are for software training on our software, not on NinjaTrader. So I hope you can appreciate that. Here. Yeah, so I'm kind of just one last comment there, Ronald. I'm speculating that you probably tried to pull up 6 or 9 months of data on your chart and something looks wrong as you go back in time, and if that's the case, only NinjaTrader can help you solve that. So, yeah. Oh, great. Let's see. Let me take a look at this link here from Nathan. Yeah, I haven't scrolled down that far yet. Let's see. Well, that's NinjaTrader 7 there. But yeah, that should be fine. I mean, NinjaTrader 8, NinjaTrader 7 still rolls back the data. So yeah, so that link there to Ninja 7 is still valid. Yeah, as far as loading in the correct expiration month for historical data. So, all right. Yeah, thanks, Nathan. I appreciate that. Oh. Yeah. Well, let's see here. All right, so that was Ronald's question. And it looks like, all right, I have another question here from Nathan. Oh, okay. Yeah, so Nathan is asking, how can he start with a fresh, new, blank slate, so to speak, in Bloodhound. So if he has an existing system open, how does he remove that existing system so he can start with a blank slate? You bet. It's actually right there on the main tab here. So if you go to the main tab, there is a clear button right next to the open and the save. Just hit clear. So actually, let me save first. So before you hit clear, make sure you hit the save button first, right? Because clear does not save, it just clears. So if you did any work, right, if you did any work just before wanting to clear things out, make sure you hit that save button there, right? So, yeah, because one other thing to note is every time you close this window here, that automatically saves back to the file, right? So yeah, closing the window does automatically save all your work to the file, right? Just as a backup there. Yeah, so all you gotta do is hit clear, and it's gonna ask for a confirmation, just in case maybe you meant to hit save as, but you hit clear instead, right? So just hit yes, and there you go. And there we go. So now we're back to a blank slate. We can see, right, there's no file name in there anymore, right? All the solvers have been removed, and there we go. So now, let me go back and open up today's Bloodhound file. There we go. All right. Also, let me point out, that there is documentation on the Bloodhound menu here, so you know what all the components are telling you, right? What information is coming from all of these side panels, right? The top menu, the tabs, and everything like that, right? So if we go to, let's see, the main tab, there's a help menu here, and we can pull up the documentation. There we go, right? So that'll open up your web browser. And then on the side menu here, let's go to Bloodhound, open that up, and then here we go, the Bloodhound interface, right? So basically this is the Bloodhound interface, right? So if we click on that page, and here you go. So here's the Bloodhound interface right there. So this one just kind of breaks it down into its, 4 main sections there, right? And there you go. So there's a explanation of everything there. Even a short little introduction video there. And then the more detailed information on all the different buttons here is down below. All right. Yeah, so there you go. The Bloodhound interface page right there. Well, that does it for the questions so far. All right, so gentlemen, yeah, I'm just ready for the next question to come in here. So I'm sure there must be some more curious questions out there. And let's see, is Ron in here? Yeah. Ron K. Yeah, just so you know, I still have not received your email yet. So you might have sent your email to NinjaTrader support by accident. Yeah. So if you want to double check that for me, yeah, and get that emailed in. That way, I have a record of your question for tomorrow's Blackbird workshop. That would be good to have. So, yeah, so if you don't mind there, Ron K, if you could do that. Oh, Mike answered it. Oh, okay. Yeah, so, speaking of which, gentlemen, yeah, if you email in questions for these workshops, make sure that you put in the subject line of your email, hey, this is a Bloodhound workshop question. And then you also might want to mention, hey, even if this is a simple, easily answered question on email, please, I really want this question to be answered in the workshop. Because as we found out that our default policy here for email is to get people answers as quickly as possible. So since Ron's question was fairly simple to answer, Mike answered it in email and then just closed it out. And so I didn't see Ron's email there. So if you really, really, really want your question answered in the workshop, just double make sure that you put Bloodhound Workshop question in the subject line and mention in the body of the email that, hey, I really want this answered in the workshop there. So that way Mike will hold off and hold off on that email. So that way that way it's still available for me to see it there. So, okay. So, yeah, Mike is just doing his job and doing it well. So, let's see. All right, so we have some more questions coming in here. So, all right, so Nathan has another question. Okay, so Nathan, there are several videos already there regarding an opening range system. So let me pull those up. And so you just want the first signal on the first bar, or a signal on the first bar, that breaks the opening range. Bloodhound doesn't care what time frame, so if you want this on a 5-minute chart, just simply set your chart to 5 minutes, and there you go. Then Bloodhound will be calculating right on a 5-minute chart, obviously. And so the breakout signal you get will apply to a 5-minute chart there. So that part's simple. And let's see here. So I'm back on the training workshops page here, right? And down here at the bottom in the recordings. So so let me put the opening range search term in there. And so there are quite a few of them in here. So here's the second half of that question, right? So here's a video on setting up Blackbird, right? To set up a stop entry. Setting up a stop entry there for an opening range, note that when you're looking at the Blackbird workshop, right, there had to be a Bloodhound workshop before the Blackbird, right? The first thing you got to do is you got to generate your signals in Bloodhound. So that's why the Bloodhound workshops are on Thursdays and Blackbird is on Fridays, right? So that way we can build the signals in today's workshop, and then we can take those signals and apply them to Blackbird in tomorrow's workshop there. Right? So anyway, let's see here. Let's go back to here. So if we go into this Blackbird workshop, and what I want to show you is if we go into the notes down here, here we go. So in the comments, right, it tells you which workshop it is coming from, right? So we'd have to find the May 3rd, 2018 workshop there. And so this will be, the Bloodhound workshop there. So that way you can find the correct video. Usually the name of the video is also included in here. Yeah, it's not included this time, but all right, so let's kind of go back here. Let's see here. Yeah, all right, so here we go. So here's the Blackbird, right? Stop entry order, right, for placing, and here's the Bloodhound, right? So opening range signal for placing pre-breakout stop entry orders. Yeah, so this will be the Bloodhound workshop, signals. So these signals here are actually not what you want there, Nathan. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, it is Nathan's asking this question. Yeah, so these signals here are pre-breakout signals. So this is not what you want. Let's see. Yeah, so maybe this one is what you want. This actually generates, as we can see here, one signal per direction per day, right? So only one signal per day, but one signal per direction. There, so that would be the Bloodhound signal that you would want to be interested in. So, and then it will be discussed in this video on how to eliminate the per direction component. So that way, if you really only wanted one signal and only one signal, per day, then yeah, you still watch this video here and just pay attention to the part where it's modifying one of the nodes so that you can get one signal per direction, right? So that way you can get a long and a short. And there'll be an explanation on how you can eliminate the per direction, so that way you only get the first long signal or the first short signal, and that's it. So that's the one that you want to watch there. Yeah. Yeah, and there are definitely a few more there as well. Yeah, there have been various modifications of the opening range over time here. So here's one that identifies a failed second breakout attempt. And if I remember correctly, this is less than a year ago, that if there was a failed second breakout, it actually generates a signal in the opposite direction of the failed breakout, right? So if it failed to break out long, then it'll generate a short signal, right? So people are trying to, right, identify those failures and generate a counter signal, right? So, yeah. Oh. There you go. There's that. All right. So just in case there, Nathan, I'm going to hold on to your question. And I'm going to drop down and see what Ronald has here. Well, first, okay, hold on. Let me answer these follow-up questions from Nathan. So, yes, you can download the template files with these videos. Yep. So all of these videos here should, let me go back into the video. Stop that. Yep. So when you go into the description, yeah, these should all have a link to the Bloodhound file. If it's missing, just email into support and ask for the correct Bloodhound file for this specific video. All right, so yeah, just grab the video link there, email that video link in, and ask for the Bloodhound file that is associated, with this video here. And yeah, Mike and Keith will find those for you there. All right. So yeah, so that one was missing. And all right, what happened here? Huh. Look at that. YouTube lost the search term. Jeez. Come on, YouTube. All right, there we go. Put that back in there. Let's see here. All right, yeah, so here's how most of these videos should end up. So this is a Blackbird workshop. So there is actually a Blackbird file for this one. Mental note, a lot of times the Blackbird workshops, there are no files because everything's really simple to build. Things are much easier to build in Blackbird than they are in Bloodhound. But there is also the Bloodhound file link there as well. Oh, and even a chart template. Yeah, so that's normally what you should see in the for these videos here. But again, if those links are missing, just email support and tell us, give us the video link there as well. So, all right. Okay, let me continue going down the list here. Yeah. Okay. All right, so it looks like that takes care of Nathan's opening range question. So let's move on to Ronald's question next. There. Yeah, Ronald has a very critical question about, right, comparing backtest results, on historical data versus what happens if you were able to run the strategy live. Yeah, that's good that you're thinking about those type of questions there. And the answer is the only way you can get as close to live as possible is to use NinjaTrader's playback connection there. Yeah, that's the only way that is the closest way to simulate live trading to generate this will give you the most accurate backtest results. And that's as good as you're going to get. Yeah. So, yeah, I think this is probably for those who are serious system developers, this playback connection, I must say, is the best part of NinjaTrader for those system developments is having access to this playback data here. Yeah, because this will get, I'll probably say this multiple times. Yeah, this is the closest thing that's available out there that I know of, that I've seen yet, that can get you the closest backtest results as if it was trading live there. Yeah. Let's see here, but also ultimately there, what you're asking, Ronald, is nobody knows, right? Because obviously you can't go back in time and run your strategy on live data. So nobody's ever going to know, what the exact, percentage difference would be. But also it's going to depend on the bar types, right? Different bar types have different characteristics. And so historical data versus live data is going to, some of these bar types are really different. And so you just have to go and analyze those bar types. You can contact NinjaTrader support for help on understanding, right, the underlying mechanics of a bar type and what its flaws might be when you're doing historical backtest versus live trading, things like that, right? Let's see here, but what I was going to pull up here is if we go to Blackbird's documentation, and if we go to the introduction page there, all right, so we're on the very first introduction page. And if we scroll down, there we go. There is a backtesting tips and help section here. I'll start here. All right. And yeah, there's various sections here. There's lots of different parts and components of backtesting there. So there's lots of different information here, but I want to keep scrolling down. There you go. So here, there you go. This is the NinjaTrader documentation there that directly addresses what you're asking about there. At least that's that's NinjaTrader's best answer there. Yeah. So, but what Ronald's asking is, if anybody else has any valuable information, and really, Ronald, the way you asked this, it's there is no simple answer. Again, it all depends on the bar types and things of that nature. So, probably, Ronald, I think you're gonna get far more in-depth answers if you go to some kind of trading forum like NexusFi, and I can guarantee there is definitely some kind of forum in here. Actually, there's going to be a bunch of forums in here about backtesting, the pros and the cons and what to look out for, and there'll be discussions on the different platforms, discussion of backtesting on NinjaTrader versus backtesting on Sierra Charts, MultiCharts, Thinkorswim, MetaTrader, right? All those different platforms. So I think they're going to get far better information on a trading forum like this, and I know there's other ones out there. I think Traders Laboratory is also another popular discussion board there. Yeah, so I think that these are going to be the better sources of information there, Ron. Yeah, so Ron's concern is the backtest results he's getting is too good to be true. Yeah, that's something to be cautious about for sure. Yeah. So I guess step one is, do some Google searching and see, are there any, backtesting flaws with whatever chart type, the chart type that you're using. So, basically, this should go without saying, but, a minute-based chart doesn't lie, right? The issues would be is if you have a trailing stop loss, right? So NinjaTrader can't update those stop losses on historical data, right? The bar's already closed, right? There's no live incoming data, so you can't really simulate stop loss, automated stop loss trailing properly. That's not 100% true. You can use Tick Replay, and that will simulate your stop loss trailing pretty darn accurately. But again, it's not the same as, live trading simply because of the speed. Yeah, we all know how fast the NQ moves these days, right? The NQ can move faster than the data can actually get to your computer, right? So, yeah. So there's a lot of technical knowledge has to be understood so that you can understand what problems might exist with all the different forms of backtesting. You have to understand how things operate under the hood. So, yeah. Let's see here. All right. So let me clear out some of these comments. Let's see. Yeah, Ron says he'll start on playback. Yeah, definitely. Yep. So, and yep, unfortunately, NinjaTrader only goes back like I think 90 days, something like that. So you might have to go purchase some playback data. I believe there's one or two companies out there who do have historical playback data that you can purchase from. So, yeah. But yeah, you know what? I would probably ask NinjaTrader support to see if they know of any vendors out there who have historical playback data that you can purchase. Or who knows, maybe even NinjaTrader might sell their playback data. I don't know. So, all right. Well, there's another question taken care of. So, all right. So, gentlemen, I'm ready for the next question here. We are just past the 1 hour mark, so this is pretty short. Typically I think the average length of time for the Bloodhound workshops are about 2 hours, somewhere around there, give or take. So, yeah, I'll hang around for at least another 10 minutes here to see if you guys can think of some more Bloodhound related questions for me. And then, yeah, and during that 10-minute time period, if I don't see any more questions coming in, then I'll just assume we're done for the day. All right. So essentially, when questions start coming in, when they stop coming into the Q&A window, that's when I kind of take my cue that we're probably done for the day. So. Let's see. All right. So I guess while I'm waiting for some questions to come in here, I'm going to open up. I'm going to find this old Bloodhound file here for this opening range system here and open this up here for Nathan and take a look. Let's see here. All right. So this says December 6th, 2023. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to go back to the training workshops page here. And well, first let me say, right, we're missing the link to the Bloodhound file. So that's our problem here. So I'm going to backtrack this. So I'm going to go to the workshops page, go down to the list, open this up, and then scroll down to December 23. And I went way too far. There we go. All right, here's December 23. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so actually, it was from November 30th. So here's our opening range breakout system, 1 signal per day. All right. So, yeah. So as I kind of mentioned at the beginning of the workshop, you know, that there is a time delay between when the workshop was recorded versus when it gets uploaded, right? So you can see this is the end of November, but the video didn't get edited, or it was finished editing in December, and that's when it got uploaded there. So there is that big time delay sometimes. And so again, that's why we have this Shark Indicators raw channel here, so we can upload the videos for you temporarily while it's being edited there, right? So don't be afraid to email in and ask, you know, for a particular workshop to be uploaded here. So we only upload them on request. So, all right, anyways, so going back to the list here. All right, so November 30th, 23. And so now that I know that, I can go and find that video. Actually, what I can do instead, let's see here. Yeah. I first want to save my chart template. Okay. There. All right. Now I have that saved, so I can now revert my chart back to what I have right now. All right. So now this is another cool thing about NinjaTrader are these chart templates here. So now I just need to find that chart template. All right, there we go. So there we can see the opening range was already put on my chart. Great, and I have the correct Bloodhound Workshop loaded in here, like so. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just wondering why there's an early signal there. Hmm. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like this system needs to be needs a little modification that wasn't discovered when this was built. So, all right. So we're getting a pre-market signal here, which is occurring because yeah, so it's occurring because if we look at this solver here, right, when the closing price, right, is above the opening range, we're going to get a long output. And if the closing price was below it, we're going to get, right, a short. Now we can see that on this day, yesterday, right, the market stayed above that opening range all the way until the next morning's opening range. And we have this reset here. Yeah, so we have this reset here. So let me mark that bar. Right, so this output here, this signal, right, it's coming from our reset. Now, if we look at the signal, right, it occurs on that reset bar. Yeah, and that is because, right, that's because price is still above this. So let's see here. So I'm gonna, yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and modify it. So that way, I'm gonna modify it. So for some reason, you know, again, I don't remember how the original question was answered, but for some reason, I needed to use a comparison solver here instead of a crossover solver. So normally with, you know, something like a opening range breakout, normally you would want to use a crossover solver. And I'm going to show the reason why, the difference here in a moment. So, but first let's look at this comparison solver. Right, again, so we can see the name right here is comparison. And right, so it's just comparing the close of the bar to the opening range. And so, you know, in this particular situation here yesterday, right, the market stayed above the yesterday's opening range. So we have this long output here on every single bar until the next opening range develops, right? So that is the reason why we ended up getting this signal here where I put that little marker, right? We got that signal on just before today's opening range, right? Is because of this comparison solver here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy. Actually, let's see here. No, I'm just going to copy these. I don't want to copy this comparison. I'm going to replace this comparison solver with a crossover solver, and that'll fix our little problem here. Let's see here. All right. So it's copy. I'm just copying these two nodes here. And let's see. Yeah, I need to switch back to today's chart template. There we go. All right, so I'm going to open up today's Bloodhounds. So there we go, right? You can see it's May 15th. We're good there. I do have an empty logic template here, so I can paste those two nodes in, like so. And I'm going to drop a crossover solver in for now. And there. So before I finish setting this up, so I'm going to come back to this crossover solver here and set it up correctly. But first, I think it would be better if I had the opening range indicator on the chart here. Let's see. So that was a Lizard Indicators indicator, or Lizard Trader. All right, there's our opening range. And let's see, Eastern Standard Time. Yep. So, all right, so I guess now I'll just make this a 30-minute opening range here. I think that's all I need. Okay, yeah, there we go. That works there. All right, and mental note, we are on a 5-minute chart here. So we're going to get 5-minute bar, breakout signals. So now let's open up Bloodhound and finish setting up this crossover solver. Let me shrink that in here. All right, so for the crossover solver, we're going to check to see if the bar closes right outside the opening range. There, all right. So we'll check to see if, if the closing price crosses over the 30-minute opening range. There. So input A needs to be the closing price. So we're going to switch the input type to price. Right, there's the closing prices selected by default. Next, input B, right, that needs to be our opening range indicator here. So let's open up the indicator, and there we go. There's Lizard indicator folder. Scroll down to the opening range. There it is, opening range. And let's see. Yeah, I do need to adjust the settings here. So here's the default. So I'm going to put it back on Eastern. Let's see. Yeah, U.S. Eastern Standard Time. Set it to 9:30. And then set the ending time to 10. All right, so there's our 30-minute window. And next, I need to find the correct plot. All right, so here's the opening range high. So we'll generate a long signal, right, when the closing price crosses the opening range high, and a short signal for the opening range low. So there we go. And let's see what we have. Bingo. All right. There's that. There's yesterday. All right. So it's a good thing I did take a look at this. Yeah. Yeah, I probably have to, if you go back and watch the video from last November, it's going to explain why the comparison solver was used instead of the crossover solver, right? But normally you want to use a crossover solver because, all right, so let's take a look at the crossover solver, right? So as far as yesterday goes, and there we go. So actually 2 days ago, sorry, we're going back 2 days, right? So remember this day, right, going back 2 days, right, the entire day. With the comparison solver, right, remember all of these bars here where the close is above the opening range, right, we just had all of this long output. But with the crossover solver, we just get that one signal there, right? So now we don't have to deal with there being a long output just prior to the reset of the next morning here, right? So the crossover solver solved the problem that the comparison solver had created for us, right? Because it just gives us that one nice, clean, single signal. It doesn't give us that continuous output there. So. Yeah. All right, just another little side note here, since I didn't build this from scratch. This signal blocker, and you'll see this in other videos here that utilize a signal blocker. What I like to do, this is a personal preference, is I like to use the actively blocking setting here. I like to set it to about 0.1, 0.2, right? And what that does is, you see that little tiny output there, right? This tells me when the signal blocker is actively, right? As the name says, it's actively blocking. So I know my signal blocker is active right now, right? And it's all the way active until we get to the next morning. There, if we stretch this out, right, there we go. So it's active until we get to this reset bar here, right? So it's active until until this reset happens, this reset here, right? So there we go. Yeah, our reset's right there, and right, that's when the signal blocker is turned off, right? So it's no longer blocking signals. So that way, the next signal, right, for this upcoming morning here, right, now we can get another signal because it's no longer actively blocking. And there we go. So now once we do get a signal, now the signal blocker is actively blocking there. Right. Actually, let's go back and see if we get the double crossover. Let's see here. All right, so I'm going to need to add some more days on my chart. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so here's a day where, right, we had a cross down, right, a breakout to the downside, and then a breakout to the upside. So there we go. So there is the one signal per direction per day. Yeah, so we can see that basically price kind of bounced around, right? It crossed up and down, right, on the upper range, on the opening range high several times, but we only see that first signal. So, yeah. And then we can also see that the signal blocker, right, is blocking short signals, and then once we get that long signal, now the signal blocker is blocking both long signals and short signals until we get to the next day, right? And then the signal blocker is reset. So yeah, so we can get signals for the next day there, right? So if you only want one signal per day, regardless of the direction, only one signal per day, then let's move that over. That is a matter of modifying the signal blocker here. So with the signal blocker selected, we have this block opposite signal, so we can enable that. And when I do, we can see, right, the first short breakout, right, it's now blocking long and short signals, right? So now there's no long signal, right? Only the first signal, right? Only the first breakout. So no signal in the opposite direction. So that's just a matter of enabling, blocking opposite signals there. So, right. And again, just remember, guys, if this is all new to you, right, we can go to the documentation, and the documentation will explain to you, what this setting's doing and the other settings as well. So if we go to main, the main tab, then we can go to the help and pull up the document. Actually, you know what? I don't do this a lot. I should probably do this more often. Yeah, there we go. So if you select a node and go to the help tab, there you go. So we can stretch this out here, and you can read through the documentation here. So there, let's see, block opposite signals, right? There it is. So there's your explanation. Yeah. So yeah, so if you like this little, help panel there, it's available to you. Personally, I'm kind of an old school guy. I'm used to having reading things on a large monitor. So I always prefer to pull up the web page there. So we can go to the Bloodhound side menu and scroll down to, let's see, logic nodes. There you go. Here's the function nodes. And there is the signal blocker. We can click on that. Excuse me. I need to take a drink of water here. Just a moment, but right, and there you go. So here's all the information right there. There. All right. Hopefully I got that frog out of my throat. So yeah. So I was just pointing out here, right? I think probably the most common question here for the signal blocker or any of the function nodes here is, what are all of these different reset options here? What does reset signal mean? What does input signal mean? What does input no signal mean? So yeah, so if you go to the documentation, right, here's the reset on and open up. There we go. Right, and here's all of those different options there and an explanation for all of them. So and all right, I should name this here. There we go. All right, so we have a 30-minute opening range with one signal per direction per day. All right, let me see if there's any follow-up questions on this. Let's see here. All right, so I don't see any follow-ups on the system here, but Nathan has a follow-up. How to get the file, how to get this Bloodhound file there. So just email then to support there. All right. Yeah, just email support and let them know. Since you know the actual date of the Bloodhound file now, you can just email in and say, hey, can you get me a link to the Bloodhound file from this day here, and they can do that for you. If you wanted to, you could also mention that the link on the video is missing, and and hopefully somebody can get the file link, the Bloodhound file link, added to that video as well. So yeah, but again, just email into support, when when you need things like that. So yeah. Let's see. All right. Well, yeah, we're done with this. So I do see there's some other questions here. So there. Let's see. All right. So Ron K is asking. Ron's asking, yeah, which techniques give optimum results? Yeah, I don't know, but that's also outside the scope of our support. Yeah, that is definitely in the realm of trading coach kind of advice. So yeah, we don't act. We at Shark Indicators, we don't optimize systems. We don't build systems, and we don't backtest systems, right? We're a software company. I would suggest, why don't you ask that question of NinjaTrader, right? NinjaTrader is the biggest company here, right? So we're just a vendor on top of NinjaTrader. NinjaTrader has the bigger resources, right? They're the biggest company. So I suggest, once you ask NinjaTrader those questions. There. So, all right. So, all right. So I couldn't answer that one from Ron. Let's see what Ronald has here. That's correct. So Ronald's asking, when you purchase, you get a license that's good for 2 computers. Correct. Yep. So yeah, let me show you here. There's an explanation on that. So just a mental note. It doesn't mean you're allowed to share it. So you're not allowed to share with somebody else, but it's for your own use. If you have 2 computers, like some people have everybody has a computer at home. So usually one license goes on your home computer. And some people actually have 2 home computers, right? You might have a desktop and a laptop. So there you go, 2 licenses. Or you might have your, home laptop and a VPS. So you could put your second license on a VPS. So I know, so something like that here. But to find that information there, if we go to, I'm just going to go back to the main documentation page here. Actually, no, I can go right here. Yeah, so in the general section, here you go. Installation, licensing, and updates. So everything everything and anything that you need to know is on the licensing and installation page here. All right, let's see here. So licensing, right? So here's the licensing. So we can go just scroll down there. So here's the licensing there. And let's see, where is it? Oh, there we go. So right above the licensing is how do the activations work. So this kind of explains how your 2 activations per license, how that works. So, right. Yeah. And there's, just so you're aware, you probably should just kind of scan through this, but because at some point, you're probably going to want to move your license to a new computer, something like that. So there's all kinds of information here, such as, how do you deactivate, a license on on an existing computer, right? How do you transfer your license to another computer? Maybe you had a computer crash, and so you lost your activation. So everything is in here. How to remove and uninstall the shark indicators, things like that. Errors, right? So if you get an error when you're licensing, let's go to the error section. Yeah. So here you go. Here's a list of all the different errors you might ever receive. So all those error numbers are there with an explanation of how to solve that error there, right? All the different errors. So, yeah. So again, just remember this installation licensing page has all the information on there, and it can save you a lot of time if you go here first, versus waiting for us to answer an email there. So, but of course, you are always welcome to email in whenever you have licensing issues, and we'll get back to you here. Let's see. So again, after the installation, there you go. How does licensing activation work? Well, with that, all right, we almost made it to the 2-hour mark, almost there. So I'm going to start the timer here again and give everybody at least 5 minutes, 6 minutes, until the top of the hour to see if there's any more questions. So again, as long as questions keep coming in, the workshop will remain open, as long as necessary to get all the questions answered here. But if we go through like a 5 or 6 minute period of no questions, then I'll assume that we're done for the day. All right, guys, so I'm just going to wait quietly here for the next question to come in. All right, it looks like I have another one from Nathan about the trial. Yeah, that's a good technical question there. So Nathan's wondering if he waits to activate, will it start the 1-year timer later? So no, the expiration date starts on the day that you purchase. So yeah, it doesn't start when you activate it. It starts from when you purchase, right? That purchase process, it goes through, and the cloud does its cloud stuff, and so when you purchase, and purchasing is what generates a license, and when that license is generated, that is the date stamp of when the updates begin. So yeah, it's based on the purchase date. So so I guess what I would suggest is contact Keith at support there and ask him what's the last day of the sale, and what's the last day of the sale, and then you can just purchase on the last day there, and that'll give you a couple of extra days of licensing there. So yeah, and again, your ability to use Bloodhound does not end on that date, right? That expiration date is just for updates. So you can use the version of Bloodhound that you own, for the life of NinjaTrader 8. All right, so as long as NinjaTrader supports NinjaTrader 8, you can keep using Bloodhound on NinjaTrader 8, right? Obviously, the platform has to work. We can't dictate to NinjaTrader what they do with their software. Yeah. So here, so let me show you another page here, Nathan, that to fill you in on how the updates work there. So let's go to support, and again, this time I am going to go to the starting page here. And if we scroll down to the other pages here at the bottom, right here, updates period or maintenance period, one of those two links. So this explains how the updates work. After purchasing, foregoing an updates extension, right? So this is probably, right, what your, more specifically, what your question is entailing there. Yeah. So, but yeah, this is just a short little page here that explains, what is the updates period, things of that nature. So, right. Yeah. So again, just go to support, go to the documentation page here, right? This is basically kind of like a launching page. And then down here under other pages here. So there's even an explanation of the trial, so if you want to get into that, but here you go. Here you go. All right, so there's another, kind of licensing question. All right, Ronald, have a good weekend, unless I see you tomorrow. All right, so Ronald is taking off for the day. And Ron is taking off for the day. All right, Ron, have a good rest of one. And I assume I will see you tomorrow so we can wrap up the optimization with Blackbird, the second half of your question. And let's see. All right. Well, we are at the top of the hour here. And I really haven't seen any actual Bloodhound questions in quite a long time. Just miscellaneous kind of questions there. So I think we are done with the Bloodhound questions for today. Yeah, so I'm going to make a judgment call here and just, wrap it up. So, yeah. All right, well, so tomorrow is the Blackbird workshop. So Friday, tomorrow, will be the Blackbird workshop, and we're going to wrap up Ron's question here about optimizing the MACD slope system there. And actually, before we do that here, I am going to insert a signal blocker. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to insert a signal blocker here. And I think blocking for probably 15 bars ought to be good enough. But then also I'm going to reset on if there's no signals coming in. Yeah. There. And as I said earlier, I do like to show the actively blocking there. Yeah. So that way, excuse me, Yeah. So this tells me that, right, the two MACD lines, right, they did have a steep enough angle that we had an output for 4 bars here. And then the angle lowered a little bit. Yeah, we can see here, yeah, that angle decreased a little bit. And then there was no signal. And then we got another bar with a signal there. Yeah. So, yeah. So being able to see the actively blocking gives me a little background information about the signals here. Yeah, so there we go. So there's without the signal blocker, and that is with the signal blocker. Yeah. So typically, when you want to automate a system, right? Typically you want nice, clean, single signals like this, right? That way you're not constantly jumping into a new trade after new trade after new trade, right? So this, right, you get the first signal, and then it's going to wait until the MACD, right, steepens up again, and then you'll get another clean signal there, until the next time. Yeah. There we go. A few more signals there. Yep. There. All right, so I'm going to leave it like that. Ron is asking, what is the signal blocker? So yeah, it cleans up your signals here. Let me switch over here again. Right, so let's just look at the AND node. Right, so here's the system, right, without the signal blocker. Right, so we can see, right, we get multiple signals in a row. Right, so if you do that, if you plug these signals into Blackbird or Raven, then what can happen is, let's say you're just scalping, right? So Blackbird gets into a trade, right? We see the market's moving up, so let's say you're just scalping for, I don't know, 2 points, right? Well, it looks like you got your 2 points within just that single bar, right? So you got your 2 points there. And so now, before the bar even closes, Blackbird's going to be flat, right? Because you got your 2 point scalp within this one bar. So then the next bar opens, right? Or I should say this bar closes and the next bar opens. And when this bar closes, right, there's another signal, right? And so Blackbird sees another signal, and so it goes long again. And again, we can see this bar was long enough, so you got your 2 points, and then this bar closes and there's another signal. So Blackbird gets into a trade again. And I'm guessing, yeah, there's definitely 2 points in this bar as well. So Blackbird, gets 2 points, it's flat again. And again, when this bar closes, there's another signal. So then Blackbird opens up another position on the next bar. right? And right, so a lot of traders, don't want to get into these constantly repeating trades like that, right? They only want to get into a trade on the very first bar, right? And so that's what this signal blocker does, is it allows the first bar signal through, and then it blocks the other bars, right? So if we look at, scroll this back here, right? So now if we look at the signal blocker, right, there we go. We got the signal on the first bar, and then we can see here, right, the other signals are blocked. So it cleans things up. So now Blackbird's going to get into only one trade here, and it's not going to continue to trade on these other bars. So it's simply just a way to kind of clean up your signals there, right? Yeah. Yeah. And again, just remember, you always have access to the Help tab here. And so there's always a summary explanation here of what these nodes do there. Right? So that'll kind of break it down there for you. Yeah. And oh yeah, this one even has a short little video clip there as well. All right. Well, I think that concludes it for today, gentlemen. Yeah, if there were Bloodhound files that you wanted, or links to videos or anything like that, again, just email all your questions to support, and we'll get you those links and those files for you. All right. So, all right, with that, that'll wrap it up for today. And I will see some of you in tomorrow's Blackbird workshop. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.